2021 is here. This is your boy JG. Exaggeration Experience. 2020 was a hell of a year. A lot happened in combat sports. In this video, I'm going to go over the top 3 winners and losers in boxing from 2020. We back, baby. Let's go. All right, yeah, like I said, we back. This is your boy JG. Exaggeration Experience. I'm going to get right into it right now. So, like I mentioned before at the top 3 winners and losers from 2020 in boxing. Exciting year. There's a lot that I could talk about, but I wanted to give, in my opinion, the biggest winners, the biggest losers, and what that prospects into looking like moving forward, especially into 2021. So I'm going to start with the negative, the losers first, so we can finish on a more positive note with the winners. Number 1 loser, I'm going to do this in reverse order. Number 3 loser in boxing, Terrence Bud Crawford. He's number 3. You might be saying, well, why? He didn't take a loss. He fought, last coming off a victory over Kell Brook. And before that, I believe he fought Kavaliauskas and beat him. But what has happened? He's a top-ranked fighter who's not the A side against any champion in the welterweight division. But he's still considered consensus pound for pound number 1 fighter on the planet. If you take a look at this dude, he's crazy versatile. He destroyed Kell Brook. Kell Brook might have been a little older over the hill, but that was still a quality fighter. He came in tremendous shape. If you got a chance to see the lead up to that fight, the weigh-ins and things like that. Kell Brook even said, he was ready, but, Terrence Crawford had that work for him. But my fear is we're going to miss out on tremendous opportunities, especially when you think about the Errol Spence fight. He's not the A side against Errol Spence. Errol Spence does bigger numbers. Errol Spence did better pay-per-view numbers. His last 3 fights were on pay-per-view. He has a better 147-pound resume, and he's been in the division longer. And he has 2 belts. WBC and the IBF belt. You look at Terrence Crawford. He's had some cool victories. Some cats that nobody's really checking for, and a belt that he lifted off Jeff Horn, who got it from Manny Pacquiao. So, to me, it's disappointing to see him now stuck in a rut, trying to beg to get fights, when a lot of the position that he put himself in, he put himself in by re-signing with Top Rank. And I don't think that Bob Arum's the best for the sport with some of the shenanigans that he pulls. So Terrence Crawford, man, he's my my number 3, as I mentioned before, loser of the year, because you're talking about one of the best fighters on the planet right now, well into his prime,
active by night,
who's not getting marquee names in fights, and he's turning down stuff like Sean Porter or dragging his feet on it, and then making outrageous demands of the number 1 consensus welterweight in the world, Errol Spence, when he's not in a position to do so. He's just not. Factually, numerically, logically, he's not in a position to make those types of demands. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to number 2. My number 2 loser of the year. Shout out to my man, because I covered him a lot. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Shout out to the Bomb Squad. But we seen what happened. He took a crucial L against Tyson Fury. That was February 18th this year. It was bad, man. It was a bad look. It started off bad. He got banged up, blood coming from his ear. What came after that is trainers getting let go. It was just a bad look. There was some controversy around Tyson Fury's glove and things of that nature. But the reality is, you got to put yourself in a position where the mistakes are minimal at best. Not the mistakes, the excuses. Because then we also heard about that 300-pound suit he wore in there. Shout out to Black History Month. And all these other types of things. A lot of time has gone by. Obviously, like I mentioned before, February 18th was that date. Now we're looking at January. It's the 5th today. And we don't have a plan. I think Tyson Fury's trying to get out of this, but I think it's being litigated as far as the last time I checked. But I don't know if that's the most important fight. Obviously, you want to get your strap back and kind of avenge a loss, but sometimes it might be the best case scenario to hop in there and just start battling other cats and work your way back into that position. It seems like Tyson Fury's hell-bent on fighting Anthony Joshua. I'd check for that fight. I think that's something that's worth seeing, but it's kind of a wait-and-see situation. But that was a big loss, but a tremendous event, great lead-up. Both those fighters did a good job promoting it. I think Deontay Wilder's still a relevant fighter in the heavyweight division. He's got to get some things switched up. I think it's too late in the game to really get into fundamentals, but I'll never write anything off. I think that if that's what he wanted to focus on for a year or so to, get his fundamentals right and put himself in a position to add a compliment to that right hand that he has that's truly devastating, then that's something that he could do. But, we'll see if he can bounce back. Moving on, the number one loser in boxing from 2020, straight up fans, us. It was us. And the main thing, the number one culprit, I guess I'd say it's legitimate, is politics in boxing. I mentioned Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. There's so many other tremendous bouts that will not get done because promoters like Bob Arum or my man, Eddie Hearn, and these types of guys getting in the way, or independents and stuff like that, getting in the way of young fighters, young champions, getting in the ring and battling it out to see who's the best in the division or the best in a weight. And we get to miss out. We get more fighting between promoters and media members than we get between the actual boxers. And the other side of that is everyone's trying to get that $30 million payday with 12 professional bouts. That's not how it goes. You want that Mayweather money, but you don't do that Mayweather work. You got to remember, during the Pretty Boy Floyd days, he climbed the ladder, he fought people, he challenged himself. And then once he realized his marketability, then he started making demands. He bought out from Top Rank, did his own thing, and he became his own boss. He tells you that all the time, but there's legitimacy to that. But going back to my larger point, we're missing out as fans of boxing on some of the best potential bouts because old-ass dudes want to argue about he needs to wait and he's A side, B side, and whatever the case may be. My hope is that cleans up in 2021. Some signs point to that could be possible. So I'm definitely excited about that and looking forward to that. Moving right along. We've done the negative. Let's do the positive. Let's look at the winners of 2020 in boxing. My number 3 winners in boxing is the 130, 135 pound divisions. Way too much talent. Way too skilled, way too young. It's super exciting for the sport because it's setting up to look like those divisions, maybe 26 and 126 and 40 as well can be a part of this. We already know welterweight is. It's shaping up with the talent, the age, the youth, the excitement, the athleticism, the varying styles is going to carry the sport of boxing. If they can get out of their own way and get out of some of the promoter stuff I was talking about earlier, it's going to be tremendous. You're thinking about guys like Devin Haney. You think about Shakur Stevenson. Vasily Lomachenko's still in there. Obviously, you got undisputed champ Teofimo Lopez right there, Tank Davis. Ryan Garcia just did his thing against Luke Campbell. These are all prospect fights. These are all cats who could go up against one another, and we'd be checking for that. I don't know if I mentioned Tank Davis or not, but he's definitely in there. He just decapitated Leo Santa Cruz. So that's very exciting. That's definitely a win, especially with the Ryan Garcia-Luke Campbell fight that just went down a couple days ago. Ryan Garcia cemented himself in that bout. He's flirting with that legitimacy now. He's calling out people crazy. I don't know about all that, but Luke Campbell, Olympian, I believe he's a gold medalist, had good experience. Linares on his resume. He has Lomachenko on his resume. So it was a fair challenge for Ryan Garcia. He has some things to definitely clean up. Athletic dude, super fast hands, but he likes to watch it work, so he got caught slipping with that chin in the air. But that body shot was vicious. Luke Campbell was... he was doubled over. He said he didn't want any more. So shout out to that team. I think definitely Ryan Garcia being in Canelo's camp working with Reynoso, it completely changed his career. If you see how he threw that left hook, he sold it upstairs and dug that to the body. If you don't know anything about Canelo, he does that. That's his patented joint. So shout out to him and shout out to that division. Definitely excited stuff on the horizon. Going to my number 2 winner of 2020, that dude, Teofimo Lopez. I did a video. I broke the fight down. I felt like Lomachenko's overall experience would be the reason why he'd carry the fight and eventually win. I didn't say that Teofimo was going to get his doors blown off, but I felt like Lomachenko was going to handle business. He did not. He decided he didn't even want to fight for the first 7.5 minutes, rounds of the bout. Teofimo came in, looked clean, he boxed. We know he can do the flashy stuff, but he showed a different dimension to his game. The ability to box, the ability to stick and move, the ability to use a crucial jab, and then to bite down in the 12th after Lomachenko mounted his comeback, to really bite down in the 12th, not listen to his corner, and sell out completely. Leave everything out there. And for me, that's what really, if you wanted to play funny games, or maybe give it to Lomachenko because he's that dude, because it's a close bout. Teofimo took care of all of that in the 12th round, in my opinion, by selling out and just leaving it all out there. And he did his thing. That's my number 2 winner because he's the first and only ever undisputed champ at that weight division. So shout out to him. Shout out to his pops. Shout out to Vasily Lomachenko. Shout out to both those guys taking that fight because, as I mentioned before, now they're both top-ranked fighters, so it's an in-house deal. But these young fighters looking for these big checks aren't taking big fights because they're scared to lose that. Oh, man, that's got to go. You go out there and you compete and you do your thing and let the best man win. So shout out to both those combatants. My number 1 winner of the year, I feel like this one's pretty damn obvious. Errol Spence Jr., EJ The Truth. My man flew from a whip, crashed all up. Didn't know if he was going to walk again, fight again, be who he was. Cass was really wondering, doubting, there was rumors swirling, his face was crazy, a little different, dental situation, had his speech on funny. But he got his shit together, packed up, got a ranch and some horses, brought his team with him, his daughters, his family. Shout out to Derek James, he's looking good too, like he dropped some LBs. And he got it figured out. And when he got back on the right path, got his weight in order, he said, you know what, we had a date with Danny Garcia in February, I want to honor that date. They made the bout happen. Danny Garcia showed up, did the best that he could do, came up short. I think it's fair to say that Errol Spence is back. So you're talking about, I think, an 18-month time period, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's that long, but somewhere in that window. And being unsure, if you're going to be able to compete again, let alone compete at a high level, you might have to give up your belts, or you might just get beat, stopped, or knocked out because you're not the same, because you don't know how your body's going to respond coming off of a horrific incident like that. So he did his thing, obviously. Shout out to him. Shout out to Danny Garcia. I don't know if welterweight's it for him. I don't know if he can make 40 anymore at this point, but he's had fights against the likes of, like I said, Errol Spence Jr., Sean Porter, and Keith Thurman, and he's come up short in all of them. So I just don't know if 47 is it for him at a championship type level. I don't know, but it's not about that. It's about EJ. He did his thing. I think that he made mention about getting a nutritionist. I think that's probably something he did on his own. I think I could tell in the back half of the fight he started to run out of steam a little bit, but his output was still pretty good. Just a little bit off his game, but still more than enough to get the job done against Danny Garcia. But as I mentioned before, I wanted to cover those 3 winners, 3 losers, 2020 boxing. This is just a short video. We back, new place, new space, same face. This is your boy JG. I got more heat coming. We got the ball rolling again. Please drop your comments in the comment section. Like, subscribe, bell icon for notifications. Shout out to my man Double M. We back. 2021. Let's make this one count. Let's go.
Active by night. Keep going crazy.